Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
My king, Morpheus has sent us some information. After Caesar received the information and glanced at it, his expression changed drastically. He then hurriedly said to Yi Bei, "What's the content?" Yi Bei flicked his tongue. "About the three-body civilization." End quote. The three-body civilization? At the side, Wang Wan, Golden Lion, Blood Moon, and Guyu were all interested. Something that could make Caesar report must be something important. The threat of the huge planet was getting closer and closer, but the snake civilization didn't have any understanding of the three-body civilization. "Speak." Yi Bei was very decisive. End quote. Morpheus sent us information that someone posted on the SS website. After a strict analysis, he confirmed that the post is more than 99% true. End quote. Caesar said. Yi Bei couldn't help but widen his eyes at these words. Continue. Yi Bei flicked his tongue. End quote. The three-body civilization is a silicon-based life form. In fact, the entire flying planet is just a single individual of the three-body civilization. They can cross the universe with their own power, and they are always very advanced in technology. From the moment they were born, every individual of the three-body civilization will use their own body's energy to create a plasma layer, then cover the surface of their body with a light film to form a supercomputer. Caesar was very smart and directly said the core thing. What? However, after he said that, Golden Lion, Wang Wan, and the others' eyes popped out. A super life form that was twice the size of Earth. Wasn't this too terrifying? End quote. Furthermore, the post also said that the tri-body civilization is a level 10 civilization. Their biological level is also level 10. End quote. Caesar continued. At first, Yi Bei wasn't too surprised to hear this. However, after hearing Caesar's additional words, his eyes slightly widened. A level 10 civilization? The system had once told Yi Bei about this. He did not expect that a post would be so accurate. End quote. Other than that, did the post mention the method to defeat a three-body life form? Yi Bei asked, a bad feeling slowly rising in his heart. Although he had the infinite evolution system, there were still certain restrictions. Now, a monster twice the size of Earth had appeared. No matter how confident Yi Bei was, he didn't know how to attack it. "No, I didn't." Caesar paused for a moment. Then his tone was a little disappointed. But soon, his eyes lit up again. "My king, as long as we can figure out the nature of that thing, we'll have a solution." Shwa shwa shwa. Golden Lion and Wang Wan stared at Caesar in a daze. Is there really a way? They had been thinking about it for a long time. What is it? Yi Bei was also a little curious. Just as Doomsday City's central district was in the midst of an intense discussion. At this moment, the scientists in the entire snake civilization were in an uproar. This was because, when the three-body life form entered the Milky Way, the snake civilization's technology finally had a rough idea of what it was. End quote. This is too scary. Doomsday. This is the real Doomsday. According to the latest data, the monster that invaded everyone's smart electronic products has entered the Milky Way and is flying toward the solar system at a speed faster than light. Its size are twice that of Earth, and with several times the speed of light. The impact it created is almost infinite. That number, at least with the snake civilization's computers, can't get an answer to it. End quote. First of all, a famous scientist posted a message on the SS website. Then, the famous scholars of the major races stood up and began to analyze. The snake tribe's civilization continued to develop, increased the intelligence of living beings. At the same time, every living being had their own judgment and opinions when it came to independent thinking. End quote. The tri-body civilization is very powerful. A planet twice the size of Earth, moving faster than light speed, the impact it creates is destructive. In other words, any life form that is slightly closer to the shock wave will be affected. That kind of compressed space gas is enough to turn a life form into ashes. End quote. End quote. The snake tribe civilization is in grave danger. Should we choose to escape? End quote. This is the true dimension-lowering strike. Using absolute power, when it passes through the solar system, he doesn't even need to make a move. He only needs to travel at light speed through the solar system. and the energy fluctuations produced will be enough to lower the solar system's latitude after a certain period of time, killing all life. End quote. End quote. Unless there's a stronger planet that blocks his progress. End quote. There is currently no scientific solution. The scientists went into a frenzy. Especially those famous scientists. The more they knew, the more helpless they felt. Even when they posted on the internet, they were extremely pessimistic. With the participation of these scientists. In addition, there were countless speculations and exaggerations from the unknown creatures. The matter of the three-body civilization's dimensional reduction attack on Earth finally caused some commotion. Some of the superpowers that had obtained the space battleships even started to prepare to escape into the depths of the universe to hide from the three-body civilization. Among them, the humans had the most intense reaction. End quote. That damned snake civilization. Ever since we were ruled by them, we've been in constant trouble. End quote. Right? Back then, human civilization had existed for thousands of years. So what if we were full of deep-rooted bad habits and killed each other? At the very least, it's just an internal struggle. There's never been any other civilization that would threaten our survival. End quote. Snake civilization, get out. End quote. End quote. I support the human race to leave the snake civilization and take refuge in space. End quote. End quote. I've had enough of being ruled by a group of beasts. Now that we have a lot of technology, with our intelligence, it won't take long for us to crack it. End quote. Humans are the strongest beings in the universe. The second day after the warning from the three-body creature. In the solar system, some of the humans had the most intense reaction. Some of the humans with ill intentions were frantically posting such comments on the SS website. Some humans even drove their battleships, carrying a large amount of energy, and continuously performed space jumps in an attempt to escape the solar system. On the internet, even some humans who had always thought that the Snake Tribe civilization was very good began to make plans in their hearts after reading the posts and comments. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. It was the exact opposite. At this moment, other than humans, all the other races were filled with fear for the upcoming destruction. However, none of the creatures chose to escape at this time. And the leaders of those races even expressed their loyalty to the Snake Tribe civilization at the first possible moment. In the Milky Way, the three-body creature was boiling with killing intent as it headed straight for Earth. In the solar system, from time to time, distorted space could be seen. After some humans learned of the horror of the three-body civilization, they no longer held on as they had before and chose to escape. Some humans even destroyed all the resources that they could not take with them when they left. The other races couldn't bear to see this. Those humans are really despicable. When the snake civilization was strong, they all thought of ways to obtain better resources. They bragged about the snake civilization on the SS website every day. We've just encountered some trouble, and you're already running so fast. The Dog Clan spoke. End quote. I suggest that all the humans who have escaped be executed. Their meat should be braised and made into minced meat, steamed eggs, or stir-fried human hooves. In addition, it would be good if we could have a human rib soup. End quote. The leader of the pig tribe opened up his true body and said. These words were rather impolite. Back when humans ruled Earth, they kept the pig tribe in captivity as food reserves. Ever since the pig tribe gained intelligence, they had never had a good impression of humans. If it wasn't for the rules of the Snake Tribe civilization, they had already returned all the strange cooking methods of the humans back then to them. Disgusting human. End quote. I really misjudged them. I always thought that they would repent. End quote. It's fine if he ran away, but he even smeared the Snake Tribe on the website? A bunch of trash. End quote. I strongly recommend that the snake god slaughter all humans. End quote. End quote. You can't put it that way. At least from this, we can see that most of the humans are good. After all, only a small number of them escaped. After this is done, we can kill all those who escaped and give human civilization a big garbage sweep. End quote. With the various rumors of human civilization, the creatures of the major civilizations finally began to fight back crazily. They were originally discussing the three-body civilization's attack. In the end, it all turned into a crusade against humanity. The humans who had survived the war became the targets of contempt for countless other races. After some humans did that kind of thing, as the overall person in charge of mankind, Guyu was naturally the first to know about it. And quote, how could this be? The snake civilization gave them everything, technology, physical fitness, and even extended their lifespans. Their lives now are at least 100 times better than before. Why did they betray us so quickly? Guyu mumbled to herself. She could not wrap her head around it, no matter how much she racked her brains. End quote. There's a very famous human saying, when disaster strikes, we fly away separately. In the face of profit, husband and wife, parents, children, anything can be sold. I think it's not too much for them to make such a choice. Previously, when they encountered trouble, they didn't choose to run because they still had some hope for the king. As for now, they were misled by experts on the internet. They believe that the snake civilization has no hope of victory, so they began to go to the extreme. What a bunch of short-sighted trash. Roar. The golden lion's eyes were cold, and the silver fur on its body stood on end. When it said this, its killing intent surged. We should have devoured all these inferior creatures when we attacked the human race. Chi. Wang flicked his tongue and was also filled with killing intent. The blood moon gently flapped its wings. End quote. It's not a big deal if humans betray us. At least the other races are normal now. The battleships that escaped were too naive. When the battleships were built, the highest control authority was hidden in our hands. Even if they really escaped the solar system, we could bring them back at any time. Donghai City, Doomsday City, central location. All the apostles expressed their attitude towards humans. As for Yi Bei, his golden body moved slowly, letting out a sizzling sound. After hearing these words, some thoughts appeared in his mind. He couldn't help but feel even more disgusted with humans. Human? It was these guys again. Guyu, I'll leave this to you. Yi Bei said coldly. Yes. Guyu lowered her head. She was so embarrassed that her face turned pale. After agreeing, she immediately turned around and left, ready to find the human leaders who stayed behind to discuss how to deal with it. At this time, Caesar continued to talk about the three-body life invasion of the solar system. If we can really prove that the three-body life form isn't a planet, then it'll be much easier. King, don't forget that in our snake civilization, any living creature can be covered by your spiritual power and can be endlessly devoured. The ant tribe has developed to an extremely large scale, and their population is now in the tens of billions. The total number of living creatures in the entire snake tribe civilization is even greater. Caesar said slowly, his eyes even revealing a lot of fanaticism and anticipation. The eyes of Golden Lion, Wang, and the others, who were originally very angry because of the human matter, lit up when they heard this. Even Yi Bei's eyes lit up. Yes, when he first obtained the three-body life form, he was filled with despair. But looking at it from another angle, it was completely clear. Even if the giant planet wasn't alive, with the snake civilization's endless devouring ability, as long as they could get close to it, they could destroy it in an instant based on their numbers. This method, in layman's terms, was an ocean tactic. It was extremely difficult for an ant to kill an elephant. But 10,000 of them. 1,000,000. 10 million. What about 100 billion? When their numbers reached a certain level, even if they tried to deal with the elephant, they would only need to brush past it to turn it into a pile of bones. The entire process might not even take 0.01 seconds. End quote. That's right. But, Caesar, have you ever thought that that thing is moving faster than light? The huge air blast around it can crush living things into pieces. No matter how many of them there are, there's nothing we can do if we can't get close to it. End quote. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. After thinking about it for a second or two, Yi Bei told her what he was worried about. The current situation. A portion of the human race had betrayed the snake civilization. In the universe, there was still an unprecedented huge threat. The current snake civilization was really in a state of internal and external troubles. When Yi Bei asked this question, Caesar, who had been spittle flying everywhere and full of hope, suddenly became sullen. But at this time, Yi Bei continued to speak. Caesar's method is indeed effective. If we gather all the creatures of the snake tribe civilization, We can indeed devour that giant planet. However, the price to pay is also extremely great. The next thing we have to consider is how to let everyone enter that giant planet. This is the most crucial part." End quote. Yibei said slowly, sticking out his forked tongue. To have evolved to his level. The snake tribe's intelligence level was extremely high. Although Yibei had been entrenched in this place all this time, he had released his mental power domain and was constantly observing the entire snake tribe civilization. There were all sorts of new techniques, all sorts of unimaginable knowledge. Yibei, understood everything. It was just that, most of the time, Yibei didn't want to get involved in all of this. "Your Majesty, then, what's your solution?" Caesar asked in confusion. End quote. The Tri-Body civilization said that we still have 10 days. Now that 1 day has passed, we still have 9 days to prepare. Other than dealing with them, what we have to do next is definitely to deal with the humans who betrayed us. End quote. Chi. Yibei flicked his tongue. As he spoke, his eyes were filled with confidence. There's a way? When Caesar, Wang Wan, and Golden Lion saw Yibei's current appearance, they all heaved a huge sigh of relief. At the same time, they also felt deep sorrow for the humans who had escaped. Those guys would definitely die a miserable death. At the Human Federation's highest office, those who tried to escape were basically the rich and powerful humans or some large forces. The former head of China, the president of Russia, and the current higher-ups of the Human Federation didn't escape. This was because these people knew very well that the terrifying strength of the Snake Clan had long left an incomparably terrifying impression on them. At the same time, they also understood that if the Snake Tribe civilization was destroyed and the solar system was destroyed, the humans who had escaped would become refugees without any foundation. They might be able to live for a while, but that kind of life was absolutely terrifying. "Tell me, what do you plan to do?" The serpent god was very angry when this happened. The most hateful thing was that other than the humans, the other races didn't do anything. Guyu's eyes swept over the human upper echelon as she spoke in an ice-cold voice. After becoming an apostle, as a human body, Guyu could also use some of Yibei's abilities. With the finished product of the evolution potion, her personal combat power was many times stronger than Luo Feng's back in Doomsday City. Shwa shwa shwa. The human high-ranking officials broke out in cold sweat when they felt Guyu's icy cold gaze. End quote. When they escaped, the core technology of the battleship they used is all in the hands of the Snake civilization. As long as I give an order to the AI hub, I can make them explode in space or come back obediently, right? One of the higher-ups wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and replied in a trembling voice. "Since those people are seeking death, then let them die." "Right. I also agree with striking them. There's no need to show mercy to traitors." With someone taking the lead, the voices of the human upper echelons came one after another. Although it was a little messy, their opinions were very unified. All of them demanded that the most severe punishment be given to the humans who had escaped. But Guyu didn't wish for such a unanimous discussion. Whoosh. In the next second, Guyu shifted her gaze to the leaders of China, the Russia president, and the former US president. "What do you guys think?" There was no emotion in his voice. The incident this time was too big, and countless races were paying attention. End quote. It's not a matter of dealing with the defectors. After this incident, there is no doubt that the status of us humans in the Snake civilization will be greatly reduced. If there is a first time, there will be a second time. The real problem we have to face is how to eliminate the impact of this incident. End quote. The golden-haired president said. This guy had once surrendered to the beast god civilization. He had also done countless things to resist the Snake Tribe civilization. However, after experiencing so many disasters, he was still alive and well. He indeed had the right to speak, and his words had hit the nail on the head. End quote. At least one thing is for sure. Those traitors should all be executed. End quote. The Russia emperor's voice was cold. End quote. First of all, we have to condemn those people. Then, we have to come up with certain conditions to satisfy the Snake Tribe. End quote. The Chinese leader said. Guyu's expression turned even colder after listening to the humans' high-ranking officials. While Guyu was having a meeting with mankind's high-ranking officials, on Yibei's side, he had already revealed his method of dealing with humans without any hesitation. End quote. First of all, activate the AI hub of all the battleships and send back all the humans who are trying to escape. Don't kill them directly. Instead, control the battleships to charge in the direction of the three-body life form and collide with it. End quote. After that, inform all the humans that they like to run away, right? Do you like betraying others? That's good. This time, humans will be the first batch of vanguards in the face of the three-body creature's attack. Yibei flicked out his forked tongue. When he said this, his voice was very cold. If they didn't teach the humans a lesson, they would never know why the flowers were so red. After hearing Yibei's decision, Golden Lion, Wang Wen, Caesar, and the others all felt a chill run down their spines. The humans were afraid of being killed by the three-body civilization, so they chose to escape. This time, pulling them back and letting them face a three-body life form was definitely more terrifying than killing them. All right, my king, I'll get this done immediately. Although Caesar was shocked by Yibei's methods, he quickly recovered from his shock. He was even looking forward to seeing Yibei's methods. However, just as he turned around, he seemed to have thought of something. My king, what about Guyu? Don't worry, she's my apostle. She knows what she has to do. This time, it's time to clean up the humans. Yibei didn't hold back at all. Yes. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. After saying that, Caesar left quickly. At the same time, on the SS website, the Snake Tribe officials released an announcement as quickly as possible. When this announcement was made, all the websites, forums, TV stations, intelligent projections, and all the places that had communication were immediately forwarded at the fastest speed. To put it bluntly, all the living creatures in the entire Snake Tribe civilization knew about it. However, when they heard this news, all of humanity and countless mutated beasts were silent for a few seconds. Then, an unprecedented shock broke out. Because the content of this announcement was simply too crazy, Snake Civilization SS website, on the various forums, various chat groups, even the humans who were trying to leave the solar system by space jumping in their battleships. Any place where there was communication between living things received the news at the first moment. End quote. As one of the most powerful races in the Snake Civilization, the humans have always been under the Beast God's attention. After careful study, the Beast God has made the following decision in the face of the attack from the three-bodied civilization. End quote. End quote. The human race will be the vanguard and take the lead in attacking the three-body civilization. End quote. End quote. All humans who try to escape will return their battleships directly through the intelligent hub and send them in the direction of the three-body life form. If they win, they will become the heroes of the Snake Civilization. End quote. This was the latest announcement. The content was simple and clear, but the meaning behind it was too simple. After seeing the announcement, countless humans were dumbfounded and speechless. End quote. F***CK. Why do we humans have to be heroes like this? Are you kidding me? That three-body life form speed is faster than light, and its size is 2 times bigger than Earth. Bastard. Aren't they targeting us too much? I'm not convinced. After reading the announcement, a large number of humans vented their dissatisfaction. However, there were also some humans who, after learning the truth, had completely different expressions. End quote. It seems like we've really offended the Snake God this time. End quote. Someone said. End quote. Of course. It said that only US humans escaped this time, and no one else made a move. If I were the Snake God, I wouldn't give the humans any chance and would even kill the entire race. End quote. End quote. Those damn bastards, a bunch of idiots. They've caused us so much trouble. End quote. Do we still have a chance? Against those high-speed planets, he'll definitely be unlucky. There were also some such voices. But, no matter how many people there were, all the humans in the Snake Civilization were in a state of grief and indignation. On the other hand, the creatures of the other races had a different reaction after reading the announcement. Woof, woof, woof. That's great. Woof, woof. Let them run. They'll be the first to die. However, I hope the Snake God will think about it carefully. It's not good if all the humans die. It's also good if you can get some humans as pets. The leader of the mutant dogs immediately posted his real name on the SS website, his tone full of ridicule. Let the humans be the vanguards. If we win, we'll be heroes. Goo 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 goo. Snake God's method is perfect. The leader of the mutant pig tribe also laughed out loud. End quote. The only pity is that if they were all smashed into pieces by that giant planet, it would be such a pity. With so many humans, they could be made into countless sumptuous dishes. End quote. End quote. Very good, very powerful. I support the snake god. End quote. This is how we should deal with humans. A traitor deserves this. To tell you the truth, it reminds me. I've checked the information. In human history, there's a crime called the extermination of 9 generations. Those traitors caused the entire human race to be in trouble. It doesn't seem to be too much at all. After all, they created the rules themselves. I'm at a loss for words. On various websites and forums, such voices also emerged wildly. Just as the discussion reached its peak. In the solar system, deep in space. Warning, warning, aerial battleship number 13 has received the highest command. Immediately space jump and return. All passengers, please be prepared to return. Warning, warning. End quote. Warning, aerial battleship number 7 has received the highest command. It is now performing a space jump to return. All passengers, please prepare for return. End quote. Warning. In outer space, all the humans who made use of the battleship to perform a space jump and attempt to escape immediately heard the report from the artificial intelligence in the battleship after reading the announcement. Bastard, don't return. If you do, you'll be dead. Was there no other way? A human tycoon was waiting for the 3D projection of the AI. He had a ferocious expression as he shouted. I'm sorry, sir. I'm just a branch of the AI system. Above me, there's still the AI hub. I'm directly controlled by him, and the entire AI system of the snake race civilization is controlled by him. The living AI explained respectfully. End quote. Quick, cut off the signal between the battleship and the snake tribe. As long as they can't connect, we can ignore their orders. End quote. Some of the humans thought they were smart and shouted. End quote. I'm sorry, sir. Cutting off the signal is prohibited. I don't have the authority to do so, so I can only ask the central system to cut off the signal. End quote. The 3D projection explained. Puff, 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 puff. At this moment, countless humans who were trying to escape spurted blood on the battleship. Some of them were smashing the inner walls of the battleship. Some people cursed. There were also people who had blank looks and were extremely angry. However, no matter what kind of expression they made, it was useless. They could only watch their battleships start to return to Earth through space jumps. Regret. At this moment, these people finally understood what regret was. The next day, all the battleships and humans who had escaped returned. When the humans disembarked from the battleship, they immediately attracted the anger and curses of countless other humans. You bunch of trash, why don't you just die? End quote. Bastards, it's all your fault. If it wasn't for you bunch of trash, this wouldn't have happened. End quote. Idiots, F***ck your mothers. I'll kill you all. I'll F***ck you all to death. When he returned to the surroundings of the warship, it was a mess. Curses, smashing, and roars were all mixed together. This kind of behavior also broadened the horizons of countless creatures. Some humans made mistakes. After implicating all the humans, none of the humans blamed the snake god. Instead, they pushed all the blame onto the humans who had made mistakes. But, no matter what happened today, no matter how intense the scolding was, read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. At least one thing was for sure. That day was the most glorious day in human history. This was because when the battleships returned, Yibei didn't hold back at all. Aside from some of the higher-ups and important people who stayed behind, all the other humans were sent into the battleships. They performed a spatial jump and charged directly in the direction of the three-bodied creature. And what happened to the snake civilization? In the solar system, the three-body life forms that flew at superluminal speed naturally knew about it as well. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the depths of space, it was pitch black. A planet was rapidly moving forward. With a long blue tail behind it, it looked extremely shocking. Although he had cut off the signal control on Earth, he was still observing the situation on Earth. Snake tribe civilization? It seems that we have overestimated them. They want to use some low-level warships and bodies to fight with my body? You simply don't know what death is. Buzz. Buzz. When the voice came out, runes appeared on the surface of the planet. And quote, I'll destroy the entire solar system. If I rush over at this speed, I might be able to create a large number of black holes. End quote. When he said this, his voice carried a bit of pride and ridicule, compared to the calmness of a three-body life. Whoosh! The humans who were forced into the battleship and then controlled by the intelligent center to rush toward the three-body life form had completely different emotions. Even if it's suicide, I don't want to be killed by a planet. Bang! Bang! Some of the humans felt that they were going to die for sure. Their faces were filled with despair as they slammed into the walls of the battleship. With a muffled bang, he died on the spot. End quote. Damn the snake civilization. We shouldn't have surrendered to them in the first place. End quote. Voila. Some humans opened the escape pods by force and jumped into space in their spacesuits. Obviously, they would die if they did that. With our current speed, we only need 4 days to run into the three-body giant if we keep on jumping. The snake god is too evil. We're innocent. Father, I don't want to die yet. Oh, why is it us humans? Bastard. Think of a way. I must think of a way. Countless humans were screaming madly. They knew that death was coming, but there was nothing they could do. This was definitely the most terrifying thing. Other than space. On Earth, many of the higher-ups of the Human Federation were spared. However, at this moment, they did not look very good. End quote. The snake god has completely abandoned us humans. He forced all humans into the battleship and sent them to the three-body giant. There's no hope of survival. End quote. Some of the human upper echelons had bloodshot eyes and their voices were hoarse. End quote. If we were the supreme rulers of the snake civilization, what would you do if one of your subordinates betrayed us? However, as soon as that voice fell, someone else immediately replied. Who? Who? As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere in the hall immediately became strange, and the sound of heavy breathing could be heard. That's right. If humans were the leaders, it wasn't as simple as sending the traitors to fight against the enemy. They might not even give them battleships, but directly shoot them into space through the launcher and let them hit the planet with their bodies. This matter itself is the mistake of mankind. The serpent god should do whatever he wants. If those humans can survive, it's their luck. If they die, there's nothing to feel sorry for. Guyu spoke. His face was a little pale. Previously, she had thought of countless ways to punish traitors, but now, when Yi Bei revealed the real solution, she realized that she had no reason to refute him. Perhaps many humans were right. But between races, right and wrong could not be easily determined through subjective judgment. At least this time, from the Snake Clan's point of view, there was no problem at all. Time passed quickly. In the universe, the three-body life form was getting closer and closer to the solar system. While he was preparing to sweep through the solar system with the powerful aura of a dimension reduction attack, many powerful creatures were also staring at this place. In the universe, end quote, the tri-body civilization has entered Earth of their own accord. Damn it. Is that lunatic trying to destroy the entire Earth? And NBSB, whoosh whoosh whoosh. A giant black snake was traveling in space. The mental energy around his body was almost tangible, and it was spreading wildly. Even if he was extremely far away, he could still sense what was happening on other planets through his spirit. This was the power of an adult space snake. End quote. I hope I can make it in time, but, with my speed, it will take at least 2 months. End quote. Whoosh. As the voice fell, the space snake continued to advance. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Time flew. On the 3rd day, the snake tribe civilization was filled with a strange atmosphere. This was because all the living beings already knew that the humans who had been brought into the warship were about to collide head-on with the three-body life form. Various websites, forums, and intelligent creatures quickly began to communicate. End quote. Hey, you guys think? We've sent out billions of humans and hundreds of thousands of battleships this time. How long do you think we can hold off that giant planet? Some creatures posted on the SS website with a very cautious mood. In the beginning, there were no biology comments on the post. However, after a few seconds, lines of analysis began to appear. It was obvious that many creatures had thought about this question very rationally. End quote. According to the latest information, the thing that the tri-body civilization sent out is twice the size of Earth. Although the battleship we built is huge, it has a reference. Compared to that giant planet, it's like comparing a 200-meter-tall elephant to an ant that hasn't evolved. When the elephant moves at superluminal speed, how long do you think the ants can resist? End quote. There's no need to hit it. The shock wave will crush it into pieces. End quote. To be honest, I feel bad for the humans. What's there to be distressed about? One cannot live with one's own sins. The civilization of the snake tribe was the combination of countless living creatures. No matter what enemy they faced, everyone worked together. Even if they died, they would not be afraid. Let's look at the humans. If there are any benefits, they would want to be the first to get it. However, as soon as they encountered danger, they would try to escape. End quote. Let's just sit and watch. In any case, I support the snake god's decision. Humans should die. Letting them be at the forefront will only squeeze out the last bit of value they have. This is a perfect method. End quote. The discussion on the internet was very loud. The ordinary mutated beasts discussed it through the website. The upper echelons were all staring at the projection solemnly. After 3 days of space jumping, the snake civilization's battleship was finally about to collide with the three-body giant. At the edge of the solar system. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. Who? A violent space storm was gathering here. Hundreds of thousands of battleships, under the control of the intelligence center, gathered together into a dark area. A bunch of ants. The three-bodied creature let out a low growl. After discovering the warship in front of it, it rushed over without any hesitation. The effect of force is reciprocal. When the three-body life form hits the warship at superluminal speed, it will also suffer great damage. Although it has an absolute advantage in terms of size, it will definitely suffer damage. In Area 51, Morpheus bit his lip. As he spoke, countless characters were jumping in his mind. He was calculating. However, the number was simply too huge. Even Morpheus couldn't get any detailed data after so many days of calculations. Instead, the more he calculated, the more frightened he became. End quote. Of course, end quote. Neo continued. Although battleships and humans are much weaker than the three-body creature at this speed, the impact should be able to break through a few of its defenses, right? After all, any aircraft in the air will crash if it hits a bird. That's not for sure. If the three-body life form is really a level 10 life form, then they must have other methods. Trinina shook her head. She no longer had any expectations for humans. Except for Area 51. The higher-ups of the major races were also having a heated discussion. You must succeed. End quote. If we can give that guy a wound, it will be a victory. At least it will prove that the monster is not invincible. End quote. We're about to hit it, just 10 seconds more. Those humans are probably all dead. When the higher-ups of the major races were talking about this, at the edge of the solar system, among the hundreds of thousands of super battleships, at this moment, countless humans' faces all turned pale. Through the projection in the warship, they could clearly see the impact of the three-body life. Furthermore, as they got closer, all the battleships' alarms kept ringing. End quote. Warning, warning. A superlight speed giant obstacle has appeared in front. 10 seconds to impact. End quote. 10. 9. Every time this number jumped, countless humans' faces darkened several times. Why is it like this, damn it? I don't want to die yet. End quote. It's all because of those stupid bastards. They've caused us so much trouble. End quote. Are humans going to go extinct today? End quote. Don't worry, they won't. Humans are the highest level of life in the universe. There must be similar life forms on other planets. Their civilization must be stronger, and they will help us get revenge. End quote. It was a chaotic scene inside the battleship. All kinds of roars, curses, and cries mixed together. However, their voices were of no use. Within his line of sight, the huge planet was getting closer and closer. The powerful space storm and shock waves caused all the warships to shake violently. Boom. Finally, at the 3rd second, the first shock wave appeared. The terrifying power instantly crushed dozens of battleships into pieces, causing dazzling fireworks to explode in space. At the same time, after the battleship exploded, countless metal fragments were sent flying by the impact. 2. The AI system's alarm continued. In that second, more than 10,000 battleships exploded. If there were any living beings in space, they would definitely be attracted by the strong smell of blood and smoke. 1. Boom, boom, boom. It was too fast. Finally, the three-body life form that was twice the size of Earth plunged into the pile of battleships. A violent explosion. Incomparably bright fireworks. An extremely shocking scene was displayed at the edge of the solar system. On Earth, in the Human Alliance. It's over, everything is over. The moment they saw the explosion, some of the higher-ups were stunned. Their lips turned white, and they muttered. From today onwards, the human race will probably be at the bottom of the snake race civilization. At least for the next 100 years, there will be no hope for humanity to rise again. The total number of humans left on Earth is no more than 10,000. It's too difficult to develop. The great Russia emperor shook his head and smiled bitterly. During the war between the human civilization and the snake civilization at the peak of their civilization, in the end, they miraculously survived and even merged into the snake civilization. It wasn't easy for them to gain a firm foothold. They were starting to develop Mars and carry out mass reproduction, but this happened. End quote. We've come this far, and there's nothing we can do. If we were in the snake god's shoes, we would have gone even further. Perhaps he would have used his genetic weapon to completely destroy this race instead of leaving us behind. End quote. The golden-haired president said. In the past few years, the changes had been too fast, but there were traces that could be followed for humans to reach this stage. If humanity really perishes this time, we'll have to see what happens to the Chinese leader, someone said. Then, he turned his attention to the Chinese leader. The latter, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. Humanity was about to perish, so why were they all looking at him? Everyone, what is the meaning of this? After a long while, the leader of China could not help but reply. The golden-haired president heard this and said, during the era of human civilization, China has always been very good at controlling the population. If you want people to give birth, then give birth. If you don't want people to give birth, then don't give birth. Perhaps all of those humans will be killed by the three-body life form, but at least 10,000 will still be alive. I believe that with the rich experience of China in the past, you can definitely cause the population to increase explosively. And this is the logic. Leader of China, the future of humanity lies in your hands. Please do not decline. Right. When the higher-ups of the Federation saw the leader of China, their eyes lit up. They were very serious about it. They all felt that they had found hope. However, these words had a strange feeling to the Chinese leader. Her face turned from white to red. In the end, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. I didn't do that. Why would I? End quote. Moreover, technology is so advanced now. Genetic technology and cloning technology have become completely common. After this incident is over, if we can still survive, we can suggest to the snake god to find a new planet to build. The number of humans will definitely increase. After all, the person in charge of the Human Federation is Guyu, and she's the apostle of the serpent god. Mankind was wrong this time and paid a great price, but at least there's still room for remedy. This time, the Chinese leader didn't beat around the bush. While wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, he said in a hoarse voice, "You don't say?" When he finished speaking, many of the human upper echelons actually agreed, at the edge of the solar system, as the lives of the three bodies were drawn closer. In outer space, that terrifying pressure made everything extremely quiet. It was simply too fast, several times faster than the speed of light. The battleships on which the humans were on couldn't see its exact appearance at all. It was just a black hole, an endless black hole. "We're going to crash. Bastard, fire the weapon." The snake god said that we're only here to be the vanguard, not to die. Maybe we still have a chance. When they were in extreme despair, the humans erupted with unprecedented fighting power. Some humans shouted at the living AI. End quote, "We can't die like this. Adjust the speed and direction and attack directly. Line up all the warships. Even if we die, we must cause great trouble to that thing. End quote. End quote. Attack. Use all the energy to launch the weapons. End quote. And MBSB, whoosh whoosh whoosh. As the orders were issued, the battleships that had not been destroyed by the space storm began to fight back. The electromagnetic pulse cannon, death-light weapons, a bomb, a rocket, an antimatter bomb, a miniature nuclear bomb. Almost all the weapons on these warships were shot out. The originally dark universe. Because of these weapons, it suddenly became incomparably bright and filled with shocking power. A group of ants, still resisting at this time? You really don't know what's good for you. Buzz. Buzz. On the three-body life form, a large number of characters were jumping. As he spoke, a series of stars appeared from his body, and in the next second, all the AI systems of the battleships that entered space were controlled by the three-body life form. Even though you're advancing at this speed, you're still too weak. Even if you bump into them, you'll be the ones to die. The sounds continued, without any feelings. To those three-bodied beings, killing a group of humans, or even destroying the entire solar system, was like humans stomping on a group of ants. There was no psychological barrier at all. Boom, boom, boom. After the battleship's AI system was taken over, they began to attack each other in space. And then, the three-body creature's huge body charged over. There was a loud rumbling sound. It exploded in space. However, because the vacuum didn't transmit any sound, the final sound only formed a series of intense fluctuations. 50,000 battleships. 100,000 battleships. The three-bodied creature was completely overpowered by the battleships. Destroying 100,000 ships took only an instant. However, at the same time as it was crushed, the three-body life's movement speed slowed down quite a bit. End quote. Damn it, although these guys are very weak, the feeling of those metal objects hitting me is not very good. End quote. I have to slow down. Otherwise, it will consume too much of the protective energy. Huh. No matter what, all of you can go to hell. Even if the speed of the three-body life form was reduced, it was still equivalent to the speed of light. Hundreds of thousands of battleships were turned into pieces almost instantly. Boom, boom, boom. Walalala. Bang, 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 bang. In the universe, balls of flames exploded continuously. A terrifying storm and shock wave were brewing. In the snake civilization, countless creatures held their breaths when they saw this. He's too strong. End quote. It's completely unreasonable. A huge body and a collision at light speed. End quote. End quote. Those humans felt that their deaths were worthless. End quote. Those creatures felt their mouths go dry as a sense of impending doom rose from the bottom of their hearts. The entire civilization of the snake tribe was filled with grief and indignation. But, just as these creatures were in despair and at a loss, a cold voice sounded in their minds. A three-body life form isn't scary. This might be an unprecedented crisis, but it's also an unprecedented opportunity for our snake civilization. If we win, our civilization level will advance by leaps and bounds. It won't be long before we can attack the tri-body civilization on the centaurs. His voice was cold and hoarse, but it was filled with unprecedented confidence. King. It's the king. Did you guys hear that? That was the king's voice. End quote. It's the spiritual power domain. The king is talking to us. End quote. Unbelievable. Your Majesty, please, you must organize that planet. Plop, plop. Some of the creatures knelt down and shouted with trembling mouths. Some of the creatures were trembling as they lay on the ground, their eyes wet. And at this moment, probably no living creature would have expected that, at the edge of the solar system, when the three-body life form crashed into the battleship where the humans were, Yi Bei, who was covered in wounds, was calmly floating in the pile of battleship debris. The impact of a three-body life form was simply too strong, and even Yi Bei's body couldn't take it. But, after evolving into a giant sky-devouring python, Yi Bei was already able to survive in space for a short period of time. Accompanied by the impact of the three-body life, Yi Bei's body, along with the fragments, began to travel through the universe at the same speed as the three-body life form. And NBSB, whoosh. He released his spiritual domain. With the system's help, As long as it was Yi Bei's territory, no matter where he was, he could communicate with it at any time. End quote. Next, everyone, enter the space vortex in front of you. Your life or death will all depend on this one move. End quote. Yi Bei didn't waste any time. The moment he finished speaking, a pitch-black, distorted space appeared in front of all the creatures of the snake civilization. Yi Bei was in space. He could still control the space of exile and the forest of death, as well as a large number of space fragments to let the creatures in the domain enter. Yes, my king. Yes. Yes. After hearing Yi Bei's voice, in the solar system, all the creatures of the snake tribe civilization did not hesitate and jumped madly into the space vortex. The hundreds of billions of creatures had all entered the various spaces in less than a second. Forest of death. End quote. This is crazy, but this is the only way. End quote. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. Asterisk roar, asterisk. The golden lion growled in a low voice, its eyes filled with fear. End quote. The king's body is very strong, so the chances of success are very high. Moreover, even if we really fail, we can just give up the solar system and Earth. As long as we hide in these space fragments, we can continue to develop. End quote. Chi. Wang Wen flicked his tongue and looked at the densely packed living plants with a metallic luster. His eyes flickered with a cold light. He was very clear that the existence of this space meant that the snake tribe would never die out. They intentionally sacrificed a large number of battleships to achieve the same speed for a short period of time under the impact of the huge planet. Everyone, make your prepared. As long as we can enter the body of a three-body life form, this battle will be our absolute victory. In the forest of death, Caesar mumbled to himself after listening to Wang Wen and Golden Lion. When he said this guy still looked like he had not come back to his senses. 3 days ago, when Yi Bei proposed that all the humans should be the vanguard and drive all the battleships to collide with the huge planet, Caesar was completely against it. In his opinion, that was no different from an egg hitting a rock. It was only now that Caesar understood Yi Bei's intentions. Sacrificing all the warships, it collided with the three-body life form. Using the terrifying shock wave and the countless fragments of the battleship, Yi Bei hid himself within it. Then, through spatial distortion and fixed teleportation, all the living beings were directly transported to the three-body life planet. Moreover, all of this was done at the last moment. The three-body creature probably didn't even know what was going on. In fact, when Caesar thought of this, the edge of the solar system, the three-body life form was moving at high speed along with countless warship fragments. On the surface of his body, the various characters on the layers of light film became more and more concentrated. What's going on? Mother Planet, why is it detected that all life in the solar system has disappeared in an instant? A huge amount of data was sent back to the Centaur constellation. At this moment, in the Centaur constellation, countless three-body life forms were quickly calculating. End quote. In the solar system, hundreds of billions of lives have all disappeared. End quote. If this is true, then there are three possibilities. First, the creatures in the solar system have already mastered the means to hide their biological waves and have directly blocked all information about their existence. Second, they were hiding in the deepest sanctuary, and any aura was filtered before being released. Third, they've mastered spatial technology and are hiding in a new space. It shouldn't be like this. According to the information, all life disappeared within a second. No matter what the possibility is, this shouldn't have happened. Perhaps the pioneer has malfunctioned. End quote. Don't worry about it. Let's continue forward. End quote. End quote. As long as the solar system is completely destroyed, those creatures will definitely die. End quote. Very quickly, the centaurs responded. However, in the solar system, the three-body life form that was flying at high speed became very unhappy after hearing these answers. A mistake? How is that possible? As a level 10 civilization and a level 10 creature, would they make such a low-level mistake? But he couldn't think of any explanation for the analysis given by the centaurs. I feel like something's not right. Forget it, I don't care. After a round of analysis, the three-body being had no choice but to continue moving forward. And at this moment, Yi-Bei finally made his move. Bullet time. He activated bullet time. This ability was extremely magical. Under Yi-Bei's bullet time, the three-body life form, which was originally moving at super light speed, suddenly slowed down by countless times. However, its speed was still comparable to the speed of sound. In space, Yi-Bei's tail wagged. Then, it turned its head around and spat out a huge mouthful of flames. With the help of the momentum of the flames, Yi-Bei's body was rapidly approaching the three-body creature at an unbelievable speed. 100,000 meters. 50,000 meters. I'm almost there. It's a good thing that this guy hasn't discovered me yet. 30,000 meters. With the system's help, Yi-Bei completely concealed his aura. When his body moved through space at high speed, it was like an inanimate object. It didn't attract the attention of the three-body life form at all. 10,000 meters. It's really an incredible thing. When they were 10,000 meters away, all Yi-Bei could see was a vast expanse of white. The entire surface of the three-body life form was covered by a film of light. The characters on it jumped. Each rune was at least a few thousand meters long, and it looked extremely shocking. And at such a distance, what Yi-Bei saw was no longer a three-body life form in a spherical state. Instead, it was a vast, silver-white continent. The opportunity has arrived. Yi-Bei's eyes lit up when he saw this. Asterisk whoosh, asterisk. His body immediately turned into a golden shadow as he frantically rushed toward the continent. As long as I can penetrate this protective light film and reach the surface of the three-body life form, it'll be fine. As he sped up, Yi-Bei stuck out his forked tongue and mumbled. But, as the distance between them closed, the three-body life form finally noticed the abnormality. When he detected that there was a 1.5-meter-long golden python rushing toward him in space, he was filled with disbelief and anger. Bastard, how could such an ant survive in space? End quote. He's really looking for death. He actually dares to rush towards me. But this guy's speed is really fast. End quote. Stop him. The characters jumped. A hoarse voice came from his body. Chi. However, because he was too confident, this guy didn't make any attacks at all. He only strengthened his defenses and prepared to completely crush Yi-Bei's body. In fact, this guy didn't even consider Yi-Bei a threat at all. 1,000 meters. 500 meters. As the distance between them closed, Yi-Bei could clearly sense the energy fluctuations hidden in the light film on the surface of the three-body life form. End quote. What a terrifying energy. And it's extremely pure. If I can devour it, my body will definitely reach a new height. Unfortunately, this guy's body is too big. End quote. His voice carried a hint of regret. End quote. Don't worry, host. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. The universe is endless, and although three-body life forms are strong, they are only one of the ordinary ones. End quote. Just as Yi-Bei was sighing, the system's voice rang out in his mind. After hearing this, Yi-Bei was a little speechless, but his yearning and anticipation for the universe grew. Buzz. His eyes narrowed. His body suddenly pierced towards the light membrane of the three-body life form. In the next moment, when Yi-Bei's body, which had 4,000 points of resistance to pressure, rushed into the light membrane, a loud sizzling sound immediately rang out. The golden body rubbed against the light film. It actually produced extremely violent silver-white lightning. Not good. At this moment, the three-body creature finally realized that something was wrong and growled. But it was already too late. Yi-Bei's body was at its smallest. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. The defense of a three-body life form was simply unable to stop Yi-Bei. In an instant, Yi-Bei's body pierced through the light membrane. However, when Yi-Bei passed through the film of light and saw the true form of the three-body life form, his eyes couldn't help but widen. A true three-body life form. It seemed to be very different from what he had imagined. Chi. Under the light film, it was a completely different scene. After Yi-Bei entered, he looked around and saw that all he could see was an endless amount of hard stones. But it definitely wasn't as simple as a rock. On this continent, every 20 meters or so, there would be a small protruding hill. It was about 2 meters in diameter. A shaking tentacle stretched out from each hill. It was sticky and looked extremely disgusting, but the tentacle was extremely flexible. It kept touching the light screen in the sky and carried out precise operations on it. This thing looks like a furball, but it's enlarged. This was Yi Bei's first evaluation of the three-body creature. No eyes could be seen. He couldn't see his mouth either. The entire planet was filled with that kind of thing. If one had trypophobia, they would definitely faint on the spot when they saw this. Damn dirty insect, get out of my body immediately, or you'll die an ugly death. Just as Yi Bei was observing the condition of the three-bodied creature, he heard a hoarse voice. No mouth. Yi Bei released his mental power domain. How did you do that? After that, Yi Bei let out a low cry. That was because he realized that the deep, hoarse voice was actually coming from the depths of the three-body creature. However, just as Yi Bei was feeling puzzled, the system's voice rang out. End quote. The tri-body civilization is a silicon-based life form. Their bodies are completely covered in thick rocks that reach tens of thousands of meters deep. Their real bodies are hidden in the deepest parts of the rocks, and their bodies are also in a semi-silicon-based state. However, their tentacles are very sensitive, and because of their huge size, their intelligence is far beyond that of ordinary space creatures. Host, if you can directly devour this planet, you can directly jump from a level 6 life form to a level 10 life form. Unfortunately, with your current physical fitness, you can't do that. The system's voice came through, and there was a lot of regret in its tone. If you can't devour it, then why did you say it? Yi Bei's eyes widened. The system was clearly trying to bewitch him. It made his heart itch, but there was nothing he could do. Bastard, get lost. While Yi Bei was conversing with the system, the three-body creature became even more furious. The low roar was heard again. Swish, swish, swish. At the same time, a large number of tentacles rushed towards Yi Bei, trying to tear him to pieces. It's still hard to say who will win. Three-body life form. Today, I'll let you know the power of our snake clan. Buzz. Yi Bei's eyes widened. As he spoke, he did not waste any more time. Chi. Then, countless space vortexes appeared. End quote. Everyone come out. There's enough food for you to devour. End quote. His spiritual domain expanded. Yi Bei's voice instantly reverberated through the forest of death, the space of exile, and the countless spatial fragments. Yes. 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 In those spaces, all the mutated beasts had been waiting impatiently. When they heard Yi Bei's voice, they immediately became excited. Then, under the control of Yi Bei's mental power domain, a distorted space appeared in front of them. Walala. The twisted vortex space appeared above the three-body creature. There were too many of them, and they were endless. At this moment, the three-body creature finally realized the severity of the problem. Damn, Dad. What are you doing, you filthy thing? Oh. The hoarse voice was filled with endless anger. At the same time, the countless symbols on the light film on his body kept jumping, sending the situation here back to the Centaur constellation. Walalala. The spatial vortex had appeared too quickly. The next second, at least hundreds of millions of creatures emerged from those vortexes. This is the body of a three-body life form? How disgusting. However, my instincts tell me that if I devour it, I'll obtain a tremendous amount of power. Roar. Roar. Golden Lion emerged from the forest of death. When he saw the scene in front of him, he was slightly stunned. Then, he shouted excitedly. Without waiting for Yi Bei's order, his body transformed into a bolt of silver lightning and charged directly in the direction of one of the tentacles. He bared his sharp teeth, looking extremely hungry. End quote. What an incredible life form. It's a real silicon-based life. End quote. Caesar appeared. The scars on his face protruded out hideously, and his entire body exuded an extremely terrifying aura. Devour. Hurry up and devour. I feel like everything here can be devoured. Kill this monster. Wang Wen, on the other hand, was extremely crazy. Other than the apostles who started devouring like crazy the moment they appeared. What amazed Yi Bei the most were the mutated insect-like creatures in the snake civilization. ZZZ. Walalala. Hundreds of millions of ants landed on the three-body life form. With their powerful strength, They began to frantically dig out the nest. As they dug, they devoured, transforming parts of the three-body life form into their own powerful energy at an extremely fast speed. With their speed, they would probably be able to dig out the core of the three-body life form in less than 3 minutes. Crack, crack. Uft, uft. Gulp, gulp. As for the three-body life form, when all the creatures from the snake tribe civilization appeared, their huge numbers almost completely covered it. All kinds of creatures began to devour it without holding back. The crisp sound of devouring continued to reverberate. Bastard. Damn it. You're all looking for death. All of you get lost. The three-body creature kept roaring, but it didn't have any effect. He was indeed very strong. A level 10 life form. It could travel at a speed faster than light and carry out dimension reduction attacks. But their bodies weren't very strong. When Yi-Bei entered their light barrier, the creature couldn't do anything but roar. The tentacles were very weak, and they couldn't cause any damage to Yi-Bei's body. And quote, I'm very curious now. Before you completely enter the solar system, can we eat you up? Yi-Bei's body was coiled. Huh. He casually waved his tail. A tentacle that was about to lash out at him was smacked into meat paste. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. He stuck out his scarlet tongue. He communicated with the three bodies with his boundless spiritual power. But while Yi-Bei was speaking, the creatures that had emerged from the various spatial fragments were overjoyed. All sorts of excited voices were heard, with the development of the snake tribe's civilization. In recent times, due to the expansion of the solar system, the number of living things had increased explosively. Although the three-body life form was incomparably huge, it was definitely not an exaggeration to cover its surface with the entire snake civilization. And quote, fufufu. It's so good. Don't worry, the stones on the ground are edible. I just took a bite, and I feel full of energy. End quote. A mutated gorilla violently tore a rock on the ground into pieces and threw it into its mouth. Crack, crack. When it bit with its teeth, it made kacha sounds. But this guy didn't feel any obstacles at all. Instead, it was extremely excited and kept screaming. End quote. It's so good. I feel like I'm eating meat. End quote. A mutated wolf growled. He bit down on a tentacle that had stretched out from the top of a stone hill and sighed. End quote. Because of the control of the snake civilization, they forbid all creatures from killing each other. During this period of time, I've been eating vegetarian every day. I can't bear it anymore. Haha, today is so good. I'm going to eat until I'm satisfied. End quote. A certain mutated tiger bared its teeth, its eyes shining. Hurry up. I feel that there's something good underground. Let's continue deeper. Increase the speed. Other than the large mutant beasts, the ants were also talking nonstop. There were too many of them. After the three-body life form was completely wrapped up, it was completely dumbfounded. The change was too sudden, and he didn't even have time to react. Bastards, you're looking for death. If you don't get lost, I'm going to self-destruct. Roars were continuously heard. As it spoke, a powerful electric current appeared on the surface of the three-body life form. However, that kind of attack was completely useless against the mutated beasts. After Yi-Bei arrived on the three-body creature, the first thing he did was to completely cover the area with his mental power domain. Ability sharing. All the mutated beasts had mastered an incredible power. Since you're here, you can be our food today. We've destroyed so many humans and hundreds of thousands of battleships. It's not a good thing if we don't pay a price. When he saw that the three-body creature was so angry that its aura was trembling, Yi-Bei stuck out his tongue and continued to speak without holding back. Swoosh. In the next second, all of the spikes on Yi-Bei's body appeared. His body had also expanded to a state of 3,000 meters. With a ripping sound, the spine on his back slashed across the surface of the three-bodied creature, and a sharp ravine that was thousands of meters long instantly appeared, and Yi-Bei had no intention of stopping. Chila, chila, chila. The speed was too fast. In the blink of an eye, countless blocks appeared around him. They were all things from a three-body life form. At the same time, His body was covered by countless creatures that were madly biting and tearing at him. The three-body life form kept roaring. He was originally advancing rapidly, but at this moment, his body seemed to have lost control and began to crash around wildly. And NBSB, Hong Long Long. Boom. At the edge of the solar system, countless planets and meteorites were crushed into pieces by the three-body life form. The behavior of these three bodies. In fact, it was very normal. It was like an elephant. If a group of ants covered its whole body, it would definitely roll on the ground, trying to crush those ants to death. However, this kind of behavior. It gave the mutated creatures a new idea. Hurry up, dig a hole immediately. And quote, this guy has gone crazy. Go ahead and don't get hit. Get into the cave. We'll devour the things inside first. End quote. Yes. Quickly go deeper. End quote. This meaty feeling is simply too delicious. End quote. Continue devouring. Hundreds of billions of living beings madly bit and dug holes. The speed at which they devoured was extremely terrifying, and the damage they caused was even more terrifying. Time quickly passed. Thanks to Yi Bei's gift, the mutated beasts had the ability to devour an unlimited number of creatures. As long as they continued to devour, they could transform it into the purest energy. There was no excretion at all, and the more they devoured, the more they enjoyed this feeling, as if they were taking drugs. And as for Yi Bei, crack. After he had swallowed a few mouthfuls of the three-body flesh, he felt that something was different. The stone that was originally hard on the surface. When it was being devoured, it was like the most delicious meat. As soon as it entered his mouth, it immediately melted, turning into streams of gray energy that spread and rolled in his body. At the same time, Yi Bei also felt that. His strength was still increasing at an unbelievable speed as he devoured the life force. The three-body life force seemed to be the purest energy. And as he devoured, Yi Bei had another feeling. The stars in the universe. An incomparably majestic power. Countless memory fragments also appeared in Yi Bei's mind. System, what's going on? Why do I feel like I've obtained some random memories when I'm devouring them? After devouring several pieces in a row, Yi Bei was a little confused. End quote. When tri-body life forms are born, they receive knowledge from their ancestors and are constantly transforming and improving. Every cell and every piece of flesh of theirs can store knowledge. Moreover, the amount is uncountable. Therefore, when the host is devouring them, it is very normal for the host to obtain a part of their knowledge fragments. End quote. The system replied quickly. What? Yi Bei was slightly taken aback when he heard this. Then, his eyes suddenly lit up as if he had thought of something great. End quote. So, according to what you're saying, if the entire snake tribe devours this three-body life form, I'll search through the memories of all living creatures through my mind power domain when I return. Then, I'll be able to restore all the knowledge and wisdom of this three-body life form, right? Who? As he said this, Yi Bei's breathing became a little rapid. If he could really do it, the snake tribe civilization would instantly advance countless levels and become a level 10 civilization. Logically speaking, it is indeed doable. However, host, do not forget that with your current level of life, you are still unable to withstand the enormous memories of a level 10 creature. To put it simply, you don't have enough brain capacity. However, if one day the snake race can create a planet with artificial intelligence, they might be able to do this. The system said bluntly. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. The planet's AI? This was a whole new concept. However, Yi Bei didn't have the time to think about all this at the moment. As it continued to devour, its body's energy was madly strengthened. At this time, the resistance of the three-body life form also became incomparably fierce. This guy was actually charging towards a star at the edge of the solar system without a care for his life.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.